Devlin Reiley. Thank you for joining me for episode 3 of Reiley's Roundup. So today we have two amazing men. They've actually become some of my favorite people. We have Vince and Gordon with CTP Marketing and Consulting. We're going to talk a little bit about what's happened during coronavirus, how they can help businesses grow and still thrive during this time frame, and get to know them on a personal level. Thank you guys for coming.
Thanks for having us.
I'm glad to be here.
So let's just get right into it. Talk to us about CTP Marketing and Consulting. How did it happen?
Well, Gordon and I met, so our kids for a time went to the same elementary school.
Okay.
And so we met in the parent pickup line. And then we just began talking and found out that we had similar interests. We have backgrounds in marketing and consulting. And one thing led to another. Over a few coffees and lunches, we just said, hey, why don't we start something kind of official and work together? And we mapped it out, and here we are.
All right. So I have gotten to know you guys a little, and your personalities are very different. So how does that work?
Well, it's funny. I'm surprised Vince spoke first, because usually I thought I'll be quiet and let him speak. But usually I run headlong in, so I'm usually play-by-play, and Vince is color commentating. Is usually the way we do these things. But if you don't know, I'm sure you've been in this parent pickup line.
Yeah.
That's like the gossip line of gossip lines, right? I mean, there's so many little individual communities and friends, and so
Is it like high school all over again?
And I tried my best to stay out of some of that. But I actually met Vince's wife Candy first.
Okay.
And so I'm a pastor in the area, and then I found out that Vince was. And Candy was fantastic. She's like, you need to meet my husband.
Yeah.
And so we got together. I don't know, it's
Yeah.
probably coffee first. Vince is always trying to get someone to go eat Mexican food. So we probably went to eat Mexican
Always.
food. And it actually started out as a coaching relationship. I mean, Vince was coaching me and giving me some wisdom on the church.
Really?
And
I'm older.
He's and you can see. And so Vince is, I don't know, Vince, you started 3 churches. I've started 2 churches, and that's an entrepreneurial thing. No matter what, churches start. And to some extent, just like business with business plans, but then we found out that Vince worked in NASCAR and sold commercial real estate.
Whoa, I didn't know
and
that.
Then he didn't drive or anything. And then,
but still.
And then I managed an eye doctor's office, and I was a school teacher. But at some point in time, we had both started our own businesses.
Okay.
And so we just started talking about that. And it takes a while to figure out someone that you trust enough.
Yeah.
What's the old quote? The only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership. And so it took a while. We would trust each other, and so but we just found that we were on the same page. We had the same passions. We have kids that we want to help get through college, weddings, and that kind of thing. And so we launched out just about 2 years ago.
I was gonna say, how long has it been?
August is 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, so we're gonna have a little celebration.
We need to.
August what?
I'll
put you on the spot there.
I
don't
know
ask
the
anniversary
18.
dates.
Well, here's the funny thing. We had a contract before we had a business.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so we had
I
started.
guess we should say from the contract.
Yeah. So we have to look that up. But we wanted to start a business with a friend of ours, and it didn't sail, and it was fine.
Yeah.
Everybody was really great. You go our way. And then again, we met for Mexican food, and they're like, "Let's just do this us."
Yeah.
And then we had a contract, and then we met at the Starbucks over at South Point, mapped out the name of the company, did all the paperwork right there, started buying websites, started doing email addresses, and we were working before we even had the paperwork that we were an LLC. So we knew that there was something there.
Yeah.
We're the epitome of a startup.
Really
that's amazing.
Which helps us help startups, because we're 2 years past that, and so we feel their pain. We're in the midst of their pain as far as growing.
And so that's what is going to lead into really what caught my attention with you guys, of what you've been doing to try to give back and help other businesses during COVID. So in case people haven't seen y'all with the chamber and some of the things that you've done there, can you tell us a little bit about what you've done, but why? What made you want to start helping other businesses?
Well, I think for us, and keep me honest, but I think for us, even more than business, we believe in our community. And we're all in this together. And I know that sounds cheeky, but it's true.
It's so true.
We're all trying to survive this together. And so we have found that business goes beyond business. It's more about relationship and community. And we just want to do our part to help our friends in any way that we can, and they've done the same for us. And if we can't do that, then we all need to wonder what we're doing.
Right. When everybody's thriving, our community is stronger, it's better, it's the place to be.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Vince, I mean, we work in the community, so we don't go to a brick and mortar space.
Yeah.
And so we're both either in restaurants or coffee shops or bumping into people. And so for us, if you asked us how many clients we'd have, I'd say hundreds, because we're doing the best we can to give as best good advice as we can to folks who need it. Like, we don't ever tell anybody, you're not our client, we can't help you. And so we do anything we can to help sort of at a grassroots stage like that. And then we had a great opportunity for the Y. They asked me to speak. I did a 45-minute video on the navigating, and thank you for that opportunity, and just navigating for businesses and for nonprofits. And then season 1 of our podcast just wrapped up. So if you go to iTunes, you can find us at CTP.
Okay.
And
CTP?
we did CTP Marketing, and we did an entire season on, we called it Corona Business, like just how do you navigate this?
Right.
And so we'll be launching season 2 pretty soon, but we just did like 8 straight episodes, like here's what you do.
Right.
But the biggest thing for us was just going down and talking to all of our friends who own businesses and restaurants, and like, what can we do?
Right.
And amazingly enough, I mean, more people were reaching out, because if you can't be face to face, all you have left is your message.
Yeah.
That's right.
And after a while, people, even though you know your business inside and out, you may not know what to say anymore.
I know.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody's just so lost. I feel like lost is such a great word to describe it, because nobody really knows what's going to happen.
That's
I mean,
right.
this isn't going to go away probably anytime soon. So you've created such a great foundation to really help businesses. It's not, businesses don't have to be over. Like, it's a way to adapt. And what y'all are doing now is just so important in what our community will be.
Well, and
like.
You're right. And I think what we
Yeah.
need to realize, I mean, let's face it, Corona's awful.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a high-risk person. I have to be very careful. I do some volunteer work in a local hospital, and I've seen some of the things that some of the families have had to go through, and it's terrible. It's horrible. Having said that, from a business perspective, in a community perspective, situations like this always present opportunities for us to grow, change, adapt, kind of get out of our comfort zone a little bit and explore, you know, kind of dip our toes in the water of new ways of thinking and doing business. And even though Corona's bad, the things that can come out of it aren't always bad. Sometimes they're good. And so we're trying to get folks to think like that. Just because you've done business this way pre-Corona, now Corona's changed all that, in sort of a way, kind of embrace that and see where that takes you, and get ahead of that and start being creative and see what happens. And for us, during this time, business has actually been very healthy for us.
You know, I think one of the things when we got started, what we didn't, and this will connect to Corona, one of the things we didn't like about the marketing industry is it's so often treated like voodoo. Like, oh, give us a bunch of money, and then we're not going to talk to you, and then poof, something shows up in 30, 60, 90 days. And we don't like that approach at all. Like, it's bothersome. And because sometimes clients get overcharged. You don't get access to day-to-day what's going on. You don't get real-time feedback. And so when we started, that's what we wanted to kill. So we're by no means the cheapest marketing firm in town, but we wanted to be affordable. We wanted to get rid of all that, whatever that chunk's going for. I mean, it's going to someone's pocket, but we wanted to make it more affordable. So during, there were some downtown businesses that got grants for websites because they needed all of a sudden to go online. They'd never been online. They reached out to us, and so we were fortunate enough to be able to put together affordable packages. So all of a sudden, someone who's closed for 60 days can be up and running in 10 days and all of a sudden start selling things. And so we just really want to kind of demystify all that mess so that it's a little bit more accessible to find good marketing stuff.
Transparency is always good.
That's
in
right.
anything that you do, I feel like just being transparent and upfront is just solves a lot of problems, even if you know they're not going to like it, you know? Or it's and I do have to give you a shout out. I completely forgot to do that. You guys helped me design the logo for the podcast. If you like the logo, which you better, you guys, what was the Richie Coleman? Richie Coleman. Thank you so much. So I just also want to say thank you because that helped me get this thing going.
That is what I'm talking about. Because Gordon and I see in you a lot of potential. You're at a point where you can't invest a lot yet in that kind of thing, and so Gordon and I wouldn't be where we are if somebody in turn didn't do that for us in our past, and so we try to pay back into that.
Well, there we go.
And hopefully someday you'll do the same when you're
when
further
I'm
along.
famous, yes. When I am,
and I think
yes.
we talked about it over Mexican food.
We did talk about it
Absolutely.
over Mexican food. What is up
The
with
best
this?
things happen over Mexican food.
Coffee and Mexican food. That's all we do.
I don't do coffee, but I do smoothies and
Smoothies
Mexican
and
food.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So, I mean, can you tell us a little bit about what you have available now? Like, do you have classes? Okay, obviously we have the podcast, which is great and very informative, but do you have any classes, or what services do you offer right now?
Yeah, there's some things we'd offer where we'd say is traditional marketing, and there's some things that are different. And so we do, if people need social media, of course we do social media, but we offer social media training because a lot of people
That's huge.
Yeah, some people just get dropped some posts.
Yeah.
But they don't actually know how to interact and grow with it. So we offer social media training along that as well. We do web building. But what we've really enjoyed lately is creating like full-scale marketing campaigns. So someone will come to us and say, well, I've been doing my business for 2-3 years, but there's nothing thematic about what I do.
Right.
I don't have a tagline. I don't have a byline. I don't have a logo. And so we'll go full-scale for like a 12-month marketing campaign. So I mentioned before, we've got a client.
Yep.
So we met with them. We did a strength and weakness analysis. We did a services analysis for them, so we knew exactly what we did. Then we came up with a new tagline for them because they really needed something that spoke more to who they are.
Yeah.
That then goes to our graphic designer. And then at that point in time, we launched their website. And then beyond that is the strategy for the next 12 months of how they interact with the community. So we love doing, I'm glad to do any portion of that.
Yeah.
But when we get to do it, the whole portion of it, then all of a sudden it feels
it's like creating a meal.
Yeah, it feels like your marketing is actually connected instead of just kind of sporadic.
So like because we're all in the market, I do the Y stuff, and our campaign right now is really battle Corona. Like, let's not go hide. Let's do this. And what you're doing for businesses is you're like amping them up and battling and not giving up. And I just think that's just, it's, the marketing world has become like a highlight and has become the saving grace for a lot of businesses. So
and to amplify, I think what Gordon is saying. Let's talk about Reiley's Roundup. Let's just pretend you're a full-blown business.
Okay.
Nobody but Devlin Reiley. I mean, she can tell the story about Reiley's Roundup the best.
Yes.
So in that aspect, you're the best marketer for Reiley's Roundup. What we try to do is supplement you and assist you in areas that maybe are not your strong points, but what we don't want from you necessarily. I mean, if you insist on it, we'll do it. But here's a pile of money and do everything for me and just leave me out. We'd much rather say, let's create a partnership where you're walking with us step by step and we're all working together for the same goal. And that way, you know what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's more cost effective. It's going to create better results. And, if you win, we win, the community wins, everybody's stronger.
Stronger together, like Fredericksburg Strong,
That's
which
right.
we are in the Fredericksburg Strong
exactly
studio.
right.
It is just so beautiful.
It is.
I love this.
I
This
know.
is fantastic.
This is fantastic, and I can't wait till Shendell puts some of her art because it's
I know,
beautiful.
That's right.
I know. So, okay, obviously you both are very charitable men. So let's get to know you a little better. I know you had a funny story. We'll start with you, Gordon, about you and your wife.
So I told you a story earlier about how my wife and I got engaged 2 weeks after our first date.
Crazy.
So we had been friends for a year. We were very, very close friends for a year. And I was actually dating someone else during this time.
Oh, my goodness.
I know. And so...
Scandalous.
Scandalous.
And I broke up with her and asked Amy out on our first date. And I took her...
The same day?
She says it wasn't the same day. But again, in the memory,
I believe her.
I'm always the hero.
I believe her.
So, but
She's
either
right.
way, I asked her out on a first date, and we went to meet my parents.
Okay.
And so that was about an hour away. So she knew something was definitely different. And Amy was also going to England for a year of school.
Oh.
And so we met my parents and had coffee, and we spent about 45 minutes together. And my dad was at a Barnes & Noble, and my dad was like, hey, help me go find a book. And my dad was not looking for a book at all.
Of course not.
And he looked at me and he's like, she likes you? Like, very stunned. It shows you my poor record. Anyway, and he's like,
way to go, Dad.
And I was like, yes. And he's like, and she's leaving for England when? And I was like, in 2 weeks. And he said, well, you'd be a fool to let that girl get on a plane without a ring in her hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what do you got going on next week? And so that's how we wound up getting engaged.
Wow.
That's the story that makes me look good. Now,
Okay.
But somewhere prior, back up
Part two.
While I was dating this girl,
Mm-hmm.
Amy and I, her parents lived close to me, and so we were out playing basketball. Her parents invited me over to eat. She had younger brothers, and they became like my little, completely innocuous, right?
Yes.
But Amy shared with me that she was interested in me. And I said, you're getting ready to go to England. I mean, maybe you should go to England. And we'll talk when you get back.
But deep down, you
I liked her. I did.
See,
but I was,
women, men don't know what they want. We need to tell you what
she
you
did.
want.
She did, and I got it. I got it completely wrong, and I broke her heart.
You got it so wrong.
And Amy will tell her girls she was totally chill. She knew it was going to work out.
That's amazing.
It took me a while. And then, but yeah, ultimately I realized, what in the world am I doing? I am absolutely the wrong person. And then we just celebrated 24 years of marriage, and 25th anniversary of our first date was just a couple of weeks ago.
Fantastic.
So, we did not waste any time, because she was getting her to go on that plane, and my dad's like, you better not. You better get her engaged. So
that shows a little bit about how you are with business. You just get it done, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
At least you're not a procrastinator.
I am not. No. I might run headstrong in sometimes, poorly, but no, I don't wait usually. Your story's similar though.
All right, let's hear yours.
So, I've got to compress this. So, I was in the military. Right before I left, I was engaged to another girl.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I didn't know that part.
Ring and everything. And it was just one of those things that just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
And I knew Candy. That's my wife's name. Mm-hmm. And I had been away over in Europe in the military, came back home on leave, and we kind of went out. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't the greatest experience on our first date.
What did
As a matter
you do?
of fact, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It just, there was no fireworks.
Okay.
There wasn't this, wow.
Yeah.
We liked each other. We had a great time, but it just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I asked her out on a second date because there were more fireworks for me at that point than her. Mm-hmm. What happened is at 4 o'clock the next morning, I got a phone call from my first sergeant, and this was this is when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. So what became known as Desert Shield, Desert Storm was
wow.
And I'd just gotten home on leave for a whole month. And 3 or 4 days in, I forget now, and it was around Thanksgiving of 1990, before you were born.
Not really, but...
Yeah. So anyway, my first sergeant called, and he said, you've got 36 hours to be back here. You're being deployed. And I said, where to? And he said, I can't tell you. And he said, it's hot.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I know what this means.
Yeah.
So I told Candy that, hey, do you want to go out on a date? Well, she didn't necessarily want to.
Really?
But she said, she'll tell you this, she had in her mind that something would happen to me. I would come home in a flag-draped casket and all that, and she'd be standing there knowing that she had turned me down for the second date, right?
So she said,
she
gave you a pity yes.
She said, let's go.
So you said that. I was
a pity yes.
And I took it.
Hey, but it was probably the best decision
because she's just the most beautiful girl inside and out I've ever met, and I'll take a pity yes.
Yeah.
To have another date with her, right?
Hey.
Beggars can't be choosers.
No,
so
I get it.
we went out, and on the second date,
that's where it happened.
Fireworks happened.
Wow.
And then the next day I got on a plane, and we were separated for almost a year. And I went through a bunch of stuff over in the desert, but I survived all of it, came back home, and we got engaged. And what was awesome is, back then we didn't have internet, we didn't have all this stuff, right? So we did the old-fashioned writing letters, which we saved, romantic. And we still have them.
Oh,
in a box.
So cool.
And occasionally when I could get to a phone call, back then service members who were deployed for work could call long distance free. And I would call and we would just talk for as long as we could. And we built a connection that way, where other stuff didn't get in the way. And we just, when I came back, we just knew we wanted to get married. And that was going on 30 years ago.
Look at
you.
Sweet.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm blessed.
You're both blessed.
Here we are.
Gordon and I can say this, we both married way out of our
That's usually
circle.
How it goes.
Oh, I'm just saying. It really is.
No doubt.
No, you guys are both wonderful men. So I mean, I've met your wife. She's amazing. Had not met Candy yet, so I'm excited to do that. Yes, for sure. All right, so bringing it back to why you guys are on here, positivity. What are your favorite volunteer opportunities?
Favorite volunteer?
Yeah.
You start, because you've got a great story.
So there's two areas where I love to volunteer.
Okay.
My wife's a school teacher at Courthouse Road Elementary.
Cool.
She's a reading specialist there, and I love to volunteer in the school. As a matter of fact, if any dads are watching this.
Just dads.
Yeah.
Dads,
here's
if
what
you're
I'm saying.
watching.
Anybody can volunteer in the school.
Yeah.
But here's what I hear all the time. We wish we had more men and more dads volunteering in the school.
That's adorable.
And this sounds arrogant, I don't mean it, but if I have time to volunteer, unless you're the president or the governor or something, you have time to volunteer.
You make it a
because you
priority.
can do it 1 hour a month.
Yep.
And what I get to do is I get to sometimes read to kindergartners and first graders.
Aww.
And then if there's a kid that's having just a really tough time, they'll have me just go and walk the halls with them and or her, and they tell me their story and talk about Santa Claus, and it's just the best thing ever.
That's amazing.
And when I do that, I'm not CTP guy, I'm not this guy, I'm just a dad, caring adult sewing into them. And so I highly recommend that. And you got to go through a background check and all that, but it's worth it.
That sounds fantastic.
The second thing I do is I'm a volunteer chaplain at a local hospital, which I can't name.
Okay.
But based on my ministry experience, I'm able to work with families in the ER and ICU, doing end-of-life issues, doing trauma. And sometimes they don't have a pastor or a family of faith, and they want that at that moment, and I'm able to just come in
That's amazing.
and just be that person for them. And again, it never will translate to business for us, but that's what we've got to get past thinking, that we do stuff to get something out of. That's a business transaction. What we have to do is say, I have these gifts, I can apply them in a volunteer status to help the community in this area and get nothing out of it, and I'm just doing it because it's the right thing to do, whether I ever get anything for it or not. And I've really tried to be intentional about getting to that place over the last couple of years. Now that I'm there,
it's great.
It's the best.
I think, too, for me, I used to be a police chaplain. And what I loved about being a police chaplain was, well, it was absolutely horrible, but I loved doing it. It was death notifications for police officers, because they'd have to go homes and tell people that someone had passed or in a car crash. And for officers, I mean, they've got to be who they are. They don't get to do hugs. They don't get to go pray with people. And so I'd get a phone call in the middle of the night, and if you knew you got a phone call at 1:30, you knew what that was. And there were some wonderfully sweet people I got to love and care for. There were some heartbreaking situations, but I loved doing it to serve the officers. I love doing it even more because in those moments when folks needed a voice of compassion or a prayer or whatever the case may be, I could do that. And so that was just really, it fashioned me a lot early on when I first went into ministry. I'd say now I'm passionate about running. I love doing.
Yeah, you are a running bug.
I love doing like race marshalling and that kind of thing. So there's a couple of races where, you just need that safety person kind of standing here and pointing, and that takes organization. It takes those folks just don't show up, and as many races as the Y does, and those things just don't come together.
No. So
I love doing that, especially when you see folks crossing the finish line or someone struggling at the end, but they're going to have that moment. You get to stand on that corner and just shout and cheer at every single person going by. And for every one of those runners, it means something different. I mean, some folks are out there competing and they want to get first, second, or third. Some folks are trying to be out there and be with their kids. Some just want to be able to tell themselves, you know what, I ran a 5K and I won a medal and I did it. And love. I've enjoyed doing it with my kids. I've enjoyed putting the red vest on. I mean, it's fun. But I absolutely love race marshalling. It's a blast.
And I want to brag on him because he won't do it, but Gordon has qualified for the Boston Marathon. And, it's kind of complicated whether or not he'll be able to run or not, but he has made that milestone. And
that's huge.
He's
huge.
And he always parlays his running into something beneficial for other people. Like, it's not a selfish thing that he's just focused on for him. He's always seeking it out as a platform to bring awareness or to talk about something, and so I appreciate that.
You guys do that very elegantly. You do.
Thanks.
Interesting. You know how people cross paths and you're like, wow, this was like meant to be. So I was in a really bad car accident when I was 17, and there was a volunteer chaplain that before one of my major surgeries came in and prayed with me. I was 17, and I was like, with my parents looking at them, not knowing like if I'd make it through. And I just remember that comfort that gave me, And so just hearing them like, oh my God, this is why we are all, right?
That's right. And what's unique about those situations, it's a great equalizer.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're rich, broke, homeless, have a big family. When you're at that moment, and I think that's what drives us too, because I had a heart attack 10 years ago. When I was having my heart attack and I didn't know if I'd make it, I wasn't thinking, I wish I had more money in the bank.
No.
Or I wish I would have closed that deal. I was thinking about family, about connections, about my faith.
Yep.
And those things for us are what are even more important than business.
I think as bad as the pandemic has been, it has had so many things flourish from it.
That's right.
And people became people again.
That's right.
We stopped, we looked around,
That's right.
we slowed down, and it's like you live life differently, and it's not always what you want, but it's better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still am very, like, it's still a little scary. People are suffering financially, but like in the end, like when we didn't know if we were going to get paychecks, I was just happy to be healthy, you know?
That's
and,
right.
and that's just interesting how that has like come out of this.
That's right.
I mean, I have 3 daughters, 18, 16, and 14.
Oh,
and,
God bless you.
but the pandemic has been sweet.
Yeah.
And I get it. Not every family. I mean, there's internal challenges and conflicts in every single family. But for the most part, when we look at it, it's going to be something that we look back on and we just had a blast.
Yeah.
In the midst of it, my daughter's high school graduation was a mess. And who knows what college looks like?
Yeah.
I mean, all that's a mess right now. But the opportunity that we had, especially those first like 8-10 weeks when nobody was leaving their house.
I know.
I mean, we had a really good time. I mean, I will look back on it and be thankful for that time. I really will.
And we're fortunate. And I know that there are people that don't get to have that, and it makes me so sad. And that's what really started me just wanting to, like, I'm very fortunate to work at the Y, and the Y has such a huge reach, and everybody who's suffering, we're going to try to help. And that's what y'all are doing with the businesses, to take that type of stress just off, because, you know, it is tough. But I just think the changes that are being made and like the impact that everyone's having and that y'all are having is fantastic.
It's really an opportunity for us to kind of just take a breath and say, what are we doing?
Yep.
We need to grow.
Yep.
This needs to change. Even this horrible stuff with Floyd and the protests, it's awful. But if we don't take the opportunity out of that to be better, to look at stuff honestly and have conversations and get better, then we've wasted this horrible experience for nothing. And COVID's the same way.
Yeah. No, it's a time to step up and be a leader. Not everybody has that in them. So the ones that are, like y'all,
and you.
I mean, thank you. I don't really know if anybody is going to follow my lead because I'm like zigzagging and cartwheeling down. No, I just want to be people to feel the feeling of happiness that I have.
And you're taking this platform and doing that. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter if people follow you or not. You're doing it because you feel led to, and it's the right thing.
Yeah.
If you just act in integrity each day.
Yes.
Yeah.
And act in integrity will let you know is right. And then you don't have to worry about the zigzagging and things like that. You go home with a clean conscience.
Yep.
And then you know that the things that people you've impacted well have been impacted well by it. And then the areas where we don't, then we ask for forgiveness and we start over again the next day.
I think some people get deterred because they don't think they'll make a big enough impact, but I can say that making a change in one person's life is just, it's worth it. It's worth it all.
It is.
Yeah, so recently, just an illustration.
Okay.
I like to fish. That's my off time.
Really?
Yeah, I like to go fishing.
Do you kiss the fish?
No, but I eat them. And I eat what I catch, or I throw it back, just so everyone knows.
Kiss and release is what I meant.
Yes. There's a 50-acre pond that this lady that I've met, she's gracious enough, she owns it. She's an elderly lady, not from here, and I'm not going to tell anyone where it is because I crashed the party. But we get to go down there, and it's a 50-acre pond that she owns. 5 more acres, Virginia would consider it a small lake.
Wow.
So for what it is, it's a big... No, but here's the thing. One day I walked around it trying to figure out what fed it.
Yeah.
Because it's not a spring. But I found out there's 3 very small creeks that feed it.
Interesting.
And that, I don't know why, but in that moment it cemented for me what you're saying, because I felt like I'm that small creek. By myself, I have this little impact.
Yeah.
But if all of us have our little impacts, then the level of the water in our pond or our community rises.
Right.
And we need everyone who can have an impact, whether it's big or small.
Yeah.
To just have your impact.
Yep.
And don't worry about the size of it, but just do what you know is the right thing to do, and do it.
Yep. I agree. Well, do you have any advice, or I know it's like,
You're the
wait,
advice guy.
I
You're the
stuttered
advice
as I
guy.
said that because I was like,
Yeah.
oh gosh, we're about to. But let's say your top 5 pieces of advice for somebody right now who owns their business and COVID has just completely and they're struggling and they're scared and they don't know what to do. Like, what would be your top 5 pieces of advice?
Well, I would start with, like, I'm an annoying goal setter. Like,
Okay.
I love goals, and so and I don't mind if it's too big, but goal setting gives me like drive. It gives me like, I know this is the direction I'm going, and it needs to be big enough to make me do something that's hard.
Yeah.
That's why Boston qualifying is always part of my brain. It's what gets me running in the morning and that kind of thing. And I don't want, like, if you'd ask a struggling business right now, they're going to go, my only goal is to survive. And I'm like, that's a great first goal. Yeah. Like, so when annoying running analogy. So when you're running a marathon, it says
which we're not. Nobody's running a marathon except you.
There's some great marathoners in town here, by the way.
No, there are.
26.2 miles. And so I always have 3 goals. And the first one is to finish, because it's just not given.
Right.
So I run 20 marathons, and 2 of them I have not finished. And it's never a given. You just can't assume you've got it in you for the next 3 to 4 hours, right? Then I always said, like, okay, a good day would be this goal. Like, if I'm feeling good, my hydration's right, everything, I can hit this goal. And then there's the best day of my life goal. Yeah. And I've hit the best day of my life goal before. It took 20 marathons to hit the best day of my life. And so, but that keeps me going when I'm out there for those 3 to 4 hours running. Like, I'm in my mind, those things are processed. So
wait, pause. What is your mile time in a marathon?
It's ridiculous.
My fast marathon was 3 hours and 23 minutes, which is like a 7:43, something like that. And I've got
for 26 miles.
I've got friends who run like 6:40s and stuff.
You guys aren't
I'm in that
human.
10 to 11 minute. I'm in the sloth.
I don't even have one because I wouldn't make it that far.
Yeah, me neither.
but it works the same whether you're running a 5K. I mean, it does. But
no, it doesn't.
So it does. So I want to finish. And not die, right? And then there's the other 2.
You're saying principle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same principle.
For business owners, I get it. Right now, the first thing is I just need to make sure I can keep my doors open. Yeah. Right. And I get it because if you don't have that attitude, then it's probably going to be then I'm quitting and shutting down. Yeah. But then, what is the next thing I can do that's going to make an impact on my business? Because we can't just open the door and hope that people are just going to walk in the door.
You have to be intentional.
Because your clientele is amazingly intentional right now, right? Like, is the interior safe? Are they taking the proper? Right. Is this the best deal am I going to get? What's the environment? Is it worth me packing up my whole family and going to? Right. So, but what's the second thing you can do? Like, well, is it an interior change? Is it you can offer a different service? Can you change the way you're speaking online?
Super clean your building.
Exactly. And then the third is, what is it that like when this is beginning to change, what is it I've really got to do to get out of all of this? So structure your goals in such a way that they change what you do during a day. That first one, I just want to survive, it gets you out of bed, but it may not make a change in your business today. Right. And so that's, like, when we say marketing consulting, that other side of consulting, that's what we do with businesses. Yeah. Like, that's when we begin structuring those things. So my first piece of advice would be, like, are you putting together goals in such a way that it's affecting the way you're doing business? That would be my first piece of advice. You know?
I have a couple. They're more anecdotal. But my advice would be not to be overly concerned about what your competition is doing. Okay. We all have to know, Gordon and I are aware of what our competition is doing. And by the way, our attitude on that is we can have friendly competition. There's enough to go around.
Of course.
But don't be a follower. Like, if you're going to sell hamburgers, don't do what McDonald's does.
Do your own
because
hamburger.
that's not going to be you.
Yeah, okay.
That's great. Do your own hamburger. That's tweetable.
It's mine. It's mine.
That's right.
Be your own hamburger.
Make your own buns.
What I mean by that is just find out, this is going to sound, I don't know, metaphysical. Find out who you are. Yeah. And then just go be that person. Yeah. And focus on what you're good at. What you're not good at, try to make it better. Yeah. And know that there's some things, for me, I'm not organizational. Gordon has organization coming out of his ears. I'm not that way, but I'm focused on being better, knowing that I'll never be at his level, but I can be the best I can be. But there's always going to be someone who does it better. I'm always going to have that help.
Okay.
Take that approach, and that's what we've done with marketing. There are things that some of our competitors, I'm not going to say what on this right now, but there are some things that they do better than we do, and probably always will.
Yeah.
And if you, Devlin, come to me and say, I'm selling hamburgers and I need this done, and that's not really something we do super great, then I'm going to tell you, look, we can help you with this, but for this piece, you may need to go.
Okay.
And I would say that. And then the other thing is hire someone from the outside. We can do it, or anybody else. We just recently hired someone from the outside. For me, it was painful.
Yeah, it was good.
But it was good painful. Like working out is painful. Her name's Susan. She put us through a process of redefining goals, redefining who we are, and I did not want to do it. I was dragged into it kicking and screaming. While I was doing it, it was driving me crazy.
Yeah.
Until we turned a corner and I saw where the ship was going, and I caught that vision. And now Susan is on like my permanent Christmas card, Christmas gift list, because she led us through this process, and it totally defined for me and Gordon. And I could tell that we'd built this airplane that was getting off the ground, and as soon as we got done with that, immediately we just started picking up steam and momentum, and he and I started syncing together more, and it was just really good. And I think they should go through that process, and we can help people do that, but they need to get that outside source.
Yeah, and so I mean, I would when you get into the interior things of your business, you can't always hire someone, but finding someone to task for your weakness is incredibly important. And so part of the reasons Vince and I work well together is our strengths and weaknesses are completely different. We got some things that line up, but we do different things. And it wouldn't do us very well in the business to be doing the exact same things. There'd be some glaring weaknesses in there. But if you know social media is an absolute weakness, you know, if you can't hire someone, find someone you absolutely love and adore, and then swap something out for them, barter with them, or whatever the case may be. Please don't just get, you know, your cousin who's like, oh, I'll do it for you. I mean, it's got to be good. You know what I'm saying? But what is it in your business that you know is a weakness? Then either hire it or task it or find it. Because if you don't address it, it's going to be your downfall. Yep. It always will be. And I understand it's hard to look at those weaknesses. It's hard. Stare it down. It's like that task that you put off for like 2 weeks that only takes like 30 minutes or something like that. Yeah, it just sits and sits. And when you're done with it, you're like, why did I wait so long to do it?
I know.
But in businesses, if you don't address those things, they will be your downfall. Yeah. They really will. And they'll either be your downfall either in a loss of business or in reputation. Yeah. And reputation is really, really hard to reclaim.
Oh, it's crucial, especially in a town like Fredericksburg. You know, it's a smaller town, but people really go off of friends and families' suggestions or
peers
opinions. Even. Yeah, for sure.
I've got one more piece of advice.
Okay. Go for it.
This is any business. This is any business, any place in the world.
Okay.
This is universal. I promise you this. Please don't run your business through your personal bank account. Please.
No way.
Yeah, I would think that wouldn't be good.
You'd be amazed at how much it happens.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Like QuickBooks is cheap.
I love QuickBooks.
Ask mom to buy it for you for Christmas. If you can't afford it, do it. But have a separate bank account.
Yeah.
Run it through QuickBooks. Balance that checkbook or something. But if you're running your business through your personal bank account, the only reason the IRS hasn't come after you is because you just don't make enough money yet. But it'll be a nightmare for you one day.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard for you to get loans. At some point in time, it'll just collapse on you.
Yeah.
But if you can say, this is what my business is doing, and you can objectively say, here are our dollars, and then you categorize it like, oh, we do X amount of this revenue and this X revenue, and our expenses are like this. It'll change. The more you know about the business, the better you can be for your customers. But, oh my goodness, that one scares me.
Yeah, I'm like still shocked. Like, that doesn't seem... Gonna make sure I write that to tell all my friends now.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
That's crazy. Well, I feel like we are trying to prepare people to armor up and battle COVID, and I'm so happy that you guys joined me today.
Thank you for having us.
Oh my, of course. You brought me a smoothie. No, just kidding. Hopefully I made that Christmas list too, by the way. Okay, cool.
I just gave it to you though.
Good, okay. But are there any last thoughts you'd like to have leave with our viewers?
I think I would just encourage us all to look outside of ourselves.
Yes.
And we're bad about that as a group of people.
Yeah.
And it's a natural tendency. But I think we just have to be intentional. And there are people in our community, probably within inside of where we're sitting right now, that are hurting and struggling. And if we can all just find a way, I'm starting to sound like a Hallmark commercial, but if we can all just find a way to link up and collaborate and work on things together, then it's really going to help. And just don't assume that someone else is going to help here. If you see a need, then get off your rear end and do something.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something similar to that, but I mean, we've all got, everybody's going to go to Target, everybody's going to go to Walmart, they've got these things, but man, locally, I just can't encourage people to go to shop local. Walmart and Target are going to be there because there's just some things you can't get but from there. I get it, I totally get it, but if you get a chance to go to a local restaurant downtown, go down there. Yeah. It's fantastic downtown. It really is. Right. And if
they've adapted.
They
really have.
And if you haven't been down there, your perception's not correct. Like you said, if you haven't been down there, please go down. And there are other,
and to go.
There's great.
To go
there's great local stuff in Spotsy and Massaponax. There really are. But
if
you get a
safe
chance,
and it's open, and
if you can make the choice to do what you need to do local, do it. And if you can afford to spend a couple extra bucks to do it, then do it. Yeah. It really is. Yeah. And if you're staying at home and you're doing DoorDash or something, all the local places are doing it. Yep. So the opportunity to do that right now is incredibly important for a community of our size, really any community, but for Fredericksburg. Yeah. Let's support the locals. I mean, as much as we can. And so there's food, coffee, clothing, and things you just can't get anywhere else unless you do it that way. And that's incredibly important for us right
I'd
now.
also tell people it's super hot. So join the Y.
Yes.
Because their pools are safe and they can go and
they
are.
I'm thankful for my
We've
life.
done everything we need to.
And you can do it as a family.
Yes.
Where it's family time and get people out of the house so they don't kill each other.
And it's safe.
Yeah, and it's safe.
You guys have done a great job.
And it makes everyone happy.
It would make me happy because I believe in, I work at a place that I believe my whole heart in. And I get to do things like this, so it's fantastic. Well, it's been a pleasure having you guys.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, and thank you all for watching. This is Devlin's Reiley Roundup. I'm sorry. All right. Thank you so much for watching episode 3. We had Gordon and Vince here today, and this is Reiley's Roundup.